hello, good morning. How are you?
Well, it's the season for being cold up here in Joburg, and I'm sick of it. Okay, I just wanted to share that with you this morning. Everybody that I know's had a cold like forever. Okay, and we're
Right.
not over it. That's the first thing.
Okay.
So that's where we are. Things are a bit chilly up here, and
Okay.
a bit wet down there, I believe. But we're not allowed to talk about that.
Okay.
It's been the
But I mean,
season for
very chilly
commissions.
in government too. All of the parties seem to be very chilly with each other. It's the
First
time
of
to
all,
be chilly.
we were told to wait. I remember my first ever engagement with the president. I was told to
Right.
wait, and some of those
Okay.
things haven't changed. And so
Right.
we waited a little, expecting
Right.
a lot. Okay,
Right.
there's a compounding error if ever there was one. Okay,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
so I mean, I want to know: do the government get paid commissions for starting commissions? That's what because we must have any number of live commissions that are never going to die. And then I thought,
Right.
well, okay, they're going to have this investigation. Of course, you can't just come to a trite conclusion. You have to examine the facts.
Right.
But the two interim reports, I was waiting for him to say in 2 weeks and 1 month's time. And he said
Right.
in 3 months and 6 months' time. So next year, by the
Right.
time either we've forgotten of this or the crooks have had enough time to cover their tracks, or I don't know how many other ors. Tim, what was your reaction to the president's speech last night?
Well, I mean, I think like the rest of South Africa, there was
Yeah,
a big sigh of frustration when the word Commission of Inquiry was mentioned.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't. But I agree with you. I mean, I don't know what else he could have done. What
Yeah.
I think is, I mean, he did stop a little bit short. The problem with the whole announcement was that it wasn't said with any kind of purpose of rectification in it. You know what I mean? There was no
No,
irritation or anger in it.
it was a
He sort of
monotonic.
allowed,
It was a case study in monotonic language. I mean, it was as level
yeah,
as you could get, as if you were
yes,
talking
yes, yes.
about, time passing. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, but it wasn't only that. It was also that the decision was made to suspend Police
Minister of
Minister
Police. Yeah,
Senzo Mchunu. And he was even sort of allowed to kind of sort of excuse himself. There's no sense that the president was angry about this, about what had happened. The other problem with the commission is that its terms of reference are extremely wide, and I really wanted to hear the words. And we are
prison.
re-establishing, immediately the unit that has been disbanded. The cause of all of this
Yeah.
problem. It didn't seem as though he was, asking the commission to focus in particularly on this issue. And the reason he's doing that, is obviously because he's embarrassed about all of this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
With good reason. Yeah.
yeah, with good reason. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it might
But
suggest that at least he doesn't know about it, which is a
yeah,
start.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and by the way,
Um,
just on a finer point, he wasn't suspended. He was put on leave. There's a difference. Okay.
yeah, no,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, he
Yeah.
was told to go and have a long holiday. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Which is all too typical, right? As everybody
Yeah.
will
Well, I think
point to.
most of our ministers are on leave. I mean, as best I can gather.
Right.
So I don't think that he's going to find himself at all, sort of out of sorts with all of his pals. Anyway,
But
yeah,
can can I make one point about the positive side of all of this? Um,
yes.
and that is, I don't know whether this is true or not, but I think this saves the government of national unity. And the reason is that the ANC was desperate to try and find a politically palatable way of pulling out of the GNU, right? Um,
Yeah,
and and up till now, it could do that without looking too bad itself. But if it
right.
pulls out of the government of national unity now, the political interpretation of that will be that it's that they were embarrassed and that they were forced out by the DA. So
Yeah.
there's a strange sort of double, sort of
Dental
action and
equilibrium is
reaction.
what we call it. Yeah, dental
Yeah.
equilibrium.
No,
Okay.
no, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what
I
that
mean, I
is,
was
of course.
interested to
Yeah.
see all of the reactions of all of the parties. And I have to say that the DA's reaction was quite lightweight. They sort of said, this is a step forward, not a leap forward. I think that's correct. But what they didn't say was this is unacceptable, in the same way
You
that the
can't
EFF did.
really. If we weren't so sick and tired of incomplete commissions, it would be the obvious and correct thing to do, as long as they foreshortened the time. Okay,
Yeah,
but we are
yeah,
sick and tired. But I mean, there's a more general issue here, Tim, about the GNU and about South African politics, and in my view, quite a lot about democracies, which is that we sit in times of tit for tat politics. Okay, in other words,
right.
it seems to me that the players in charge of the country and our destiny, as it were, are fighting with each other, not dealing with the subject matter. Okay, and they're either vying for the popular vote or vying for the popular criticism. And so we live in a world of democracies. That's what their choice is. I mean, that's what they seem to be
Right,
doing. And with
right.
scant regard for what's happening on the ground and for the numbers and the evidence and the inevitabilities of some of the failed policies and vastly
Yes.
overspent numbers and things of that nature, because they spend their lives on TV, okay, trying to garner votes for their view.
Right.
I think it is as shallow as that. I actually think
But
the GNU
but
is
how,
run on
Mark? How is
television.
that different? How is that different
It's
from the
not
rest of
different.
history?
Well, it's
Um,
different. It's not. It's no different from the rest of democracies. I'm raising a
right.
dangerous point here. The dangerous
Okay.
point I'm raising is that in non-democracies, for want of a better word, we're quite good at non-stuff here in South Africa. Okay, like for example, let's not call China a dictatorship, but let's not call. And I
Right.
could give you the list of places where things get done because they are told to be done. Let's call them
Right.
those. They
Right.
seem to progress on an even keel through all storms, dedicated to a mandate of world dominance, let's say. And defeating whatever
Which
might
is
be in
great.
their way. Yeah, which is not a bad thing to do. You wake up in the morning, what are you guys up to today? Well, we're going for a bit of world dominance. Okay, but
Okay.
they do seem to win a lot of the business races with that political mindset. And I know this is dangerous, this is difficult territory. Okay, but if you
No,
if
no,
you
no.
like,
Mark, I have to disagree. I think you're wrong. It often looks that way, but it only goes on
oh,
for a certain amount of time, and then it all falls to pieces, and then it all just goes into a kind of disaster.
well, we should
That's
get a
you can
commission of
sort of see
inquiry
that
going on that.
with Russia, because Russia was
Yeah,
also going for that thing that you so
yeah,
cherish, world dominance,
yeah,
and it's not turned out that well for them.
It's not turned out that well. No, it isn't. It isn't. And some decades ago, that was the explanation for most budgets, was that the defense budget kept the economy going, and that was certainly the case
Yeah.
in the States for many, many decades. I think what we've got to do, GNU and whatever other democratic processes, you have to give a mandate to those elected to lead to appoint those that can do by evidence of their
Yes.
previous doing. Okay, that's where I
Yes.
think the
Yes.
thing
Yeah.
goes wrong. I'm not against them. I'm
Yeah.
for democracy, but then
Yes.
the mandate should be no. You actually have to demonstrate that you've appointed someone who has the CV that qualifies him or her for the job. Now, when you come from our distant inequalities and all of those kinds of things, then I suppose it's harder to do that than it would otherwise be. So it's quite difficult, eh,
Right.
to solve this thing.
No, 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 exactly. But I do take your point that at this particular moment in political history, the political parties tit for tatting does seem to be very extreme. I mean, I don't know whether that's just a perception or there is a kind of general frustration. I think. You know what I think was one of the most interesting stories that I read this week was in Business Day, and it was about the membership of the ANC. And it
No.
recorded that the total membership of the ANC has now dropped by 200,000 people, which was this is an organization with a membership of 500,000. So for them to lose
No,
that
no,
number
Tim, those
of
numbers can't be right. Are you saying only 500,000 people in South Africa are signed up ANC? Man, it can't be that small, surely. There's nothing.
well, this is paying members, right? This is according
Oh,
to
paying.
their
You
own
should have
annual
introduced
report.
the paying thing. Sorry, man. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
There are a
Well,
multiple of that, a big multiple of that, of our people are on social grants. Much more, it
yeah,
seems to
no,
me, than any membership of a political party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. Of course, I mean that doesn't mean that the support has dropped, but it
I
does
get it.
seem it did raise a thought in my mind, and the thought is this: every political party is an alliance between different interest groups. If you want to look at it that way, that's one way of looking at politics.
No.
And I just wonder where the traditional alliance of the ANC is, coming apart at the seams. And the alliance, if you want to, this is one sort of perspective of it. The alliance was between industrial workers, the rising
Yeah.
black middle class, and rural dwellers. That
Right.
was basically the ANC's, proposition
Constituency.
to,
Yeah.
constituency. And it seems to me it's losing the rural constituency to MK and the EFF, and it's losing, the industrial working class, because the industrial side of South Africa is declining. So, and also, it's a lot of the unions are now not part of the ANC coalition. So it does seem to me that there's, possibly, there's a big problem for the ANC. The ANC still has the support of the urban middle class, or growing middle class. Which is why I suspect that it's still so supportive of black economic empowerment and those sorts of issues. What do you think?
You're beyond my deep understanding of this. I'll illustrate that, I'm sure, by the next words I utter. But I mean,
Okay.
is there a party that you wouldn't accuse of this? Is there any party that you wouldn't accuse of having dwindling support and changing support? And I just think there's an increasingly big mass of people who are just fundamentally disappointed. Okay, and I think that's the biggest party in South Africa. Okay, so they're
It's
just
true.
left because they haven't got any food, man. I mean,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah.
And so forget about the free T-shirts. So they've got enough of those. So I think the biggest
No,
party
no.
in
I
South
mean,
Africa is the unheard. Okay.
yeah. No, no, no. It's true. I mean, the most disappointing thing, not to add disappointment to disappointment or anything, but
No,
the
have a
most
go. It's
disappointing.
Monday. Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. President Ramaphosa came into office with a signature promise, and that promise was that he would clean out the Aegean stables that are, his own party. And what this whole thing demonstrates is that he has failed, and that's a very
I
harsh
think it's
judgment, but
deeper
it's
than that.
probably true.
I think he
Okay.
can't. I think I think
Yeah.
everybody knows a bit about everybody. Okay. And I think everybody
Right.
knows enough about each other to keep each other in check, so to speak, and go like, you tell on me, I'm going to
Yes.
tell on you, but. And so we're in a
Yes.
conundrum. I don't know what it'll take. I'm worried that it'll take a much bigger, broader economic challenge than we're already facing now, and a much bigger, broader international. I mean, we raised some money I saw the other day from China. Now, China
Right.
is not trivial in their ambitions about which markets they want to play in and things of that nature. I get the sense that we'll take money from wherever it comes, and those who give us money
Yes.
are not necessarily aligned with our good purposes locally. They're aligned with theirs. And I'll go back to that thing about the WD theory. You know what that
Right.
is, eh? World
Yes.
domination. Anyway, okay,
Yes.
we've had enough of politics. I can't even cope with it. I'm sorry. I've actually had
Okay.
enough of it. And so tell me something more. I don't know, ask Chat GPT or something. I've had enough. What's happening in the technology takeover of the world? That's the real dominance. Eh?
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you a question. And
Oh.
this is in the long tradition of me asking you questions that I think you probably don't know the answer to.
It's the only ones you ask me. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so this is the question. The question is, what category of questions are most people asking of ChatGPT and the other large language models? What do you
I'm going
think?
to summarize my answer because we've only got so much time. I
Right.
don't know. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the answer is very surprising to me. It's software development. So basically people are using ChatGPT for developing software. All of the other stuff that seems so important to everybody about, you know, um,
I can't wait because that's what
economics,
you just asked
finance,
me.
tax,
Yeah. Yeah.
law, all those sorts of things, they're quite small parts of what the utility of these large language models are. And I know that from friends of mine in the IT industry, that one of the things that the large language models do extremely well is they look through your code and they find all of the problems with it. And they do that very quickly and very effectively. And that's very interesting to me, and it reflects well, I think, on this this whole effort, because there's so much news about how if you ask ChatGPT a question about Nazis, it will come up with something anti-Semitic, etc. All of those sorts of stories, which are true. But it's obvious that if you in a situation where you have a very specific question about a very specific thing, actually these ChatGPT things do pretty well.
Well, they do, but you started off by saying they, as it were, develop software. I'm paraphrasing, and there does become a point where do we not lose the reins, and does the horse not begin to gallop in whichever way it chooses, and who controls the horse? Okay, because if ChatGPT or AI, whatever these things are, start telling us where we're going, then who are we? Then who are we, Tim? I mean, if that's not a good question for the Monday morning chat,
Deep.
then who
Wow.
are we? I read
For a
an
Monday.
interesting thing somewhere, and
Okay.
I've decided that almost everything I see could be false. It could be made up. Even the detailed videos of what happened there or then. And I read that it takes the human brain, in terms of energy usage, it takes the human brain 12 watts to think. Just the process of thinking, to get all the synapses and things going together. And it would take AI, guess how many watts to do the same?
Huh. Okay, you're asking me a question I don't know the answer to.
Yeah,
let me summarize for you. I don't know.
So it's the human brain, 12 watts to function, to think. AI, 2.7 billion watts to get to the same level of intricacy, to even fathom. So AI is a dumb thing that is fed information and has got no capacity for original thought, but it has extraordinary rapid capacity for extrapolation. And in that sense, ChatGPT and AI will never invent anything new. They will invent something obvious faster than we will. So that's what I've got to say to ChatGPT. I pull a tongue at you, and I am still trying my very best, although I'm being overwhelmed by my children and things of that nature, to avoid asking ChatGPT anything, because I think it's going to dumb us down. And A, and B, it's going to always give the same answer to the same question. Have you thought about that problem, Tim? Imagine you found someone who, no matter who asked him, so that it's got no perspective. A machine asks a machine a question, you're going to get the same answer, no matter your perspective, no matter your bias, no matter your understanding or anything of that nature. So we're going to become dummies, mate. I asked ChatGPT that, and that's what they told me. Yeah.
yes. No, exactly. I mean, that's why I think it's so good at software. It's because software has a specific set. Actually, it's rather like a a chess game or a calculator. So that's what it's useful for. And all of the other stuff is fluff. Can I change the topic again to something different?
I want to quickly finish on the chess game with it. For my sins, I did computer science one when I was doing maths at university, and we were given the task of writing in BASIC or whatever it was, the ones and zeros in binary. I think it was called BASIC, actually, the language. A program to put 9 queens on a chessboard such that none could take each other. It was a program of logic and a process of elimination. And one of the guys, I won't name him, got given 200% for the answer. And so we were all a little bit surprised at that, being mathematicians. And we asked why, and they said because he wrote the program and put it into the WITS computer system and found the computer system was too slow. So he rewrote the compiler of the WITS system to accommodate his then significantly shorter program. I thought that was so that's what AI is exactly doing. They're taking known things and making them faster and more efficient. Anyway, you were going to say something else.
No, I was just going to change the topic to
AI.
Yes, yes.
Because I am. Yeah, okay.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I just wanted to talk about this subject that is very close to your heart, which is sport over the weekend. I noticed there was a lot of things happening, and it was very exciting, and I don't know what to make of it. So I wanted to ask you, is there anything that I should know about that I don't on the sport front?
I'll only mention one thing: rugby. Okay,
Okay,
so we had
okay,
what might be described as a dismal performance against Italy the week before, and Rassi, who's the coach,
right,
changed 11 players. Okay, so
right,
when the cabinet didn't perform, he changed the cabinet. Okay, just like that. And there were some
right.
died in the
Okay,
world heroes of South African landscape that were told, sorry, but you're not playing next week. Okay. And that
right,
is the dispassionate reason why sport for the successful succeeds and why politics for the failures fails. That's my
right.
summary on sport for the week.
Okay, well, that's a good one, I think.
Yeah,
It does. It
and
does
yeah,
throw. It does sort of like underline what we've been speaking about for our little discussion here. Cool, Mark. Well,
anyway,
thanks very much. I think we're out of time.
we
Thanks
are.
everyone for listening as usual. Please do send us comments, criticism. Well, not a lot of criticism, but some criticism will be
Yeah, no,
fine.
be nice. It's early in the morning. Most of you haven't even got started yet, man. Be kind. Have a good week,
Okay.
people. Cheers now.
Cheers. Cheers. Bye.